Monday edition of Bet. I'm Anita Marks, coming to you live from Bristol, Connecticut. Yes, I am at the mothership. We've got our fantasy football marathon taking place, so I decided to make the trip up here, and we're excited. We've got a jam-packed show for you today. Eric Moody's going to join me to talk about some of the futures bets out there as the football season is right upon us. We're also going to hear from Rob Demovsky, talk some Packers. Courtney Cronin's going to join us. We'll talk about the Bears, and David Newton is going to join us to talk about the Carolina Panthers. Week 1 of the preseason already in the books, so let's break it down and recap what happened. So, Rob, welcome and excited to have you. Let's first and foremost talk about Jordan Love. It is the Jordan Love era that kicks off now in Green Bay. He went 2 series, 7 of 10 for 70 yards. What is the report card that he got from the coaches with his first preseason game against the Bengals?
Yeah, Anita, Packers coach Matt LaFleur called it a good first performance, but it was really more than just the game. They spent a couple days out there, one joint practice with the Bengals, and they got as much out of that, if not more, as they did from the game. I talked to a couple of Bengals defensive players, and they raved about Jordan Love's poise in the huddle and his adjustments that he made at the line of scrimmage. Their cornerback, Mike Hilton, been around a long time, Anita. He picked off one of Jordan Love's passes, but afterwards I talked to him, and I said, well, what, did he make a mistake there? And he said, no, Love actually read the play the right way. He had more numbers than we did, but the veteran that Hilton is managed to make a play, but he said that Love will learn from those situations, but it was actually the right read. So far, so good for Jordan Love.
All right, you've got a column out on .com. I highly recommend folks go out there and check it out. One thing you wrote was that, we didn't see a lot of the deep ball. Chicks love the deep ball, Rob. You know that. Is that something that we are going to see in weeks to come, or have we seen the last of Jordan Love in preseason?
No, it's a big part of the offense, and they want to get a few more game reps to try to get one of those deep balls. They've been working on it in practice. Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love both said that he needs to put more air under it and just let a speedster like Christian Watson just run under it because he's so fast. Now, whether we see that this week against New England or in the preseason finale against Seattle in week 3 is to be determined. I thought it was interesting that Matt LaFleur, when I asked him if Love's going to play any more in the preseason, he said yes, he will definitely play more, but he wasn't sure if it would be in the second game or the third. It used to be that nobody played in the last preseason game, but now there's 2 weeks between the preseason finale and the opener, so they might want to not play him this week, but play him in that third game so that he doesn't go a whole month without any game reps.
All right, as we know, a lot of change with this Green Bay Packers team. Give us a progress report in regard to some of the rookies that hopefully will become household names in Green Bay, Rob.
Anita, I'm going to give you 2 names, one on each side of the ball. On defense, he's a 7th-round pick, so people might not know about him, but cornerback Carrington Valentine has made play after play. He came up with an interception in the game. He came up with an interception today at practice. Now, it's one thing for a rookie 7th-round pick to do it against the second or third teamer. He picked off Jordan Love today in practice. And why was he playing with the number 1 defense? Well, Jair Alexander, their all-pro corner, doesn't do a whole lot in preseason and in practice, so he's getting valuable reps, and you know how it is with corners. You're always going to need guys that can play the ball. And then on the offensive side of the ball, real quick, watch for number 88, Luke Musgrave, 2nd-round pick out of Oregon State. He is going to be a big part of this offense from the tight end position. He looks like a tight end, and he runs like a receiver.
Love it. Thank you so much, Rob, sporting that ESPN gear there at Packers camp. I love it. We'll talk to you soon.
We'll be seeing you.
All right, we bring in Eric Moody. Eric, let's break it down. Now, really interesting. A few weeks ago, we were talking about the NFC North, right? And at that point in time, the Green Bay Packers, their odds were that they were going to finish last in this division. Well, apparently, some sharp money has come in on them, and now they're expected to finish 3rd in this division. Let's take a look. Here are some of the prop bets this season: win total, division, make the playoffs. A lot of love for Love right now, TD passes and passing yards. So with what we have, is there a futures bet out there that you like right now, Eric?
Yeah, the one bet that I'm drawn to, like a moth to the flame, is for the Packers to surpass 7.5 wins. Now, I think a lot about this team because you got Jordan Love, first-year starter in Green Bay, 4th season in the league. and he's well positioned for success. Green Bay has invested quite a bit in their offensive line, and it's paid off. They actually ranked 8th last year in run block win rate, and they're also very good at pass protection. But you look at the weapons that I would say that Jordan Love has. You know, he's got Jaden Reed, the rookie that they drafted, Christian Watson. He's got Romeo Doubs there as well. In the running game, you've got Aaron Jones, and you also have A.J. Dillon. That's a duo that combined for 1,900 yards last year. And so I can see them early in the season as Love gets acclimated to regular season football, leaning heavily on the running game. They also have a solid defense. But when you look at the schedule, that's what intrigues me the most, Anita, when you look at this team. Because the NFC North, they don't have dominant defenses there. I'm like, none of them are projected to finish statistically in the top 20. They also have 4 games against the NFC South. Again, another division without intimidating defenses. So the stage is set, in my opinion, for, I would say, this Packers team to get off to a really fast start. So I would take the over on 7.5 wins. I really like this team.
Well, not to be the negative Nelly of the bunch, but I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers not to make the playoffs this season. I really like the Detroit Lions in this division. I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to challenge some folks. I'm still not sold on the Bears. We're going to hear from Courtney Cronin in just a second, even though there's a lot of love for Justin Fields right now. I do believe the Green Bay Packers finish last. A big reason, Jordan Love, let's be honest, only 1 career start in the NFL. He only has 50 completions. So much talent now is no longer there. Listen, I love Watson on my fantasy team. Is he going to help this Green Bay Packers win some football games? Can't be sure. Dobbs is there. More than likely, they're going to have a rookie start at the slot position as well as the tight end position. And I am expecting some regression in regard to some health, especially on the defensive side of the ball, which the Green Bay Packers were able to stay healthy last season. A big reason why they won so many games. So again, not to be the negative Nelly here, and there is quite a bit of juice here to put it down, but I do not have the Green Bay Packers making it to the postseason. Eric, hang tight. Like I said, we're going to go to Courtney Cronin. We're going to stay in the division. Let's talk about the Bears. So, Courtney, role reversal here. I'm always on your radio show on Sundays. This is great that you're on Bet with us. We're thrilled. Let's start first and foremost. I'm wearing the T-shirt. I got Justin Fields. I know a lot of people are in on him. Looked great preseason game 1, right? 129 yards, but a lot of those were yards after the catch. So how does the Bears staff, what grade have they given him? What have they assessed in regard to Justin Fields after game 1 of the preseason?
Anita, they were performing in and out of the. You're right. The yak numbers were what stood out from that preseason game. 56 of them on Khalil Herbert's touchdown, and of course the DJ Moore 62-yard touchdown. But that's an element of the passing game that didn't exist last year. They were dead last with over 1,132 yak yards, and then they never had a play go over 50 yards in that category. They had 2 of them on Saturday, and both of which went for touchdowns. So I think the quick passing game that we have seen emphasized throughout training camp is something that you're starting to see come to fruition, something they can build upon. Of course, they want to be able to utilize DJ Moore and his speed on the deep ball, but you saw 4 Tennessee defenders trailing him after he caught that screen pass on his first and only Saturday. Problem doing that and gets going. Could have thrown a couple. Saturday will.
All right, I'm sorry, having some technical difficulties with Courtney Cronin. So let's bring Eric Moody back in. Eric, welcome back. Let's talk about Justin Fields and this Bears team, right? Like, in regard to the futures bets, like I said, there is a ton of bets that have already, that guys and gals have already gone to the window for. A lot of people feel that Justin Fields is going to win MVP this season. But here are some of the Bears prop bets that you could make. Win total, division, Fields passing touchdowns, over-under passing yards as well. So what are you comfortable with here? What are your expectations for Justin Fields as well as this Bears team?
Yeah, Justin Fields is going to have a phenomenal season. But you know what, Anita? I'm looking at DJ Moore. I'm looking at player props here. I love DJ Moore over receiving yards. We got a glimpse of what he's capable of with Justin Fields in the preseason game with that long touchdown reception. I'm like yards after the catch, for days on that play. But one thing about DJ Moore, he should be very excited. This is the first time in his career that he's played with a quarterback of the caliber of Justin Fields, and he's had success in his career. Over the last 4 seasons, he has averaged 133 targets and 1,103 receiving yards per season. Just imagine what he can accomplish in this division, because again, they don't have a lot of stout defenses in the NFC North. So imagine what he can accomplish with Justin Fields, because Chicago does plan to lean a little bit more on Fields in the passing game this year. So I think the dynamic between Fields and Moore is going to be electric. I know a lot of people are talking about new quarterback, new wide receiver combinations. Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson are getting a lot of publicity, but do not overlook DJ Moore and Justin Fields.
So, again, I feel like I'm playing the negative Nelly role here today, but I'm going under passing yards for Justin Fields. He's got to prove to me that he is a legit top-notch quarterback. And I know you're like, Anita, what are you talking about? You know, all you have to do pass for 2,900 yards and you could win this. I'm still not buying it. He played in 15 games last season, went 22-42. I know it was his year 2. But the accuracy is not there. His decision-making is not there. On top of that, he has a really subpar offensive line. I know they went out, they drafted Darnell White. He's expected to play right tackle. But I still have some major concerns, not to take anything away from DJ Moore. Obviously, they've added more talent around him. But I still believe that he's going to have an issue in regard to the offensive line. His sack rate was 14.7% of his dropbacks last year. I don't think they improved the offensive line enough to avoid that. And until I see for myself that he's able to stick in the pocket and throw the football accurately, then I am not going to go over with his passing yards. On top of that, get this, they played the second easiest schedule, Eric, against opposing defenses against the run. And this is what he does so well. I think more times than not, I think we're going to continue to see Justin Fields run with the football than throw it. So I'm going under passing yards. Hang tight for 1 second. We're bringing in David Newton because we want to talk about the Carolina Panthers. David, the majority of rookie quarterbacks did not have a great week 1. Let's talk about Bryce Young because he was the #1 overall pick. Some really big, hefty expectations for him this season, especially since he's going to be starting for the Carolina Panthers. So tell us, what is your assessment? How do you feel he did? How does the team feel he did in week 1?
Well, as I wrote right after his performance on Saturday, Beyonce, who played here on Wednesday night, had a better performance than Bryce Young did on Saturday night. I know because I was sitting way up there in the stands, not really good seats, but what I followed that with was Beyonce didn't have to play behind the Panthers' offensive line. Now, that was key. I don't think that Bryce Young really played as poorly as he was shown by the offensive line. They didn't give him protection. He got hit hard on 2 of his first 3 passes. He got hit hard 3 times on 7 dropbacks. So he really never had a chance to get in a groove, and that's something they've been working on the last few days. It was really unusual. After the game, the offensive line wasn't in there by the time media got into the locker room. I mean, Frank Reich had already spoken. He'd spoken to the media, spoken to the team. I noticed that the offensive line came in fully dressed a little bit later on. They had been in with a meeting with James Campen, their offensive line coach, who basically said that was unacceptable, their performance out there. So it's really hard to kind of evaluate Bryce Young based on the way they played. But Frank Reich said today that he was really pleased with Bryce Young's demeanor. He was really pleased with the way that he was able to manage the offense. And he really liked the first pass where he really got blindsided. And you would thought he could have gotten hurt on that, but he didn't. And he had probably one of his better completions to Adam Thielen. So he held his poise. He didn't think about the next play and let that impact the next play. So overall, I think Bryce Young did well. It's just the offensive line was bad.
Well, what did Bryce Young say about his first taste of NFL action? Granted, it's preseason, but he comes from such a highly touted university that is more pro-ready. How was that transition? What did he say about his first game?
Yeah, he didn't make a very big deal about the protection or the big hits he took. In fact, he said, he told Frank Reich he really did not feel that first hit, and he was hit really hard. And Frank told me today, he said, you were right, David, said, I was wrong. I thought he only took 1 hit on Saturday. He took a couple of big hits, but the way he bounced back and jumped up right after that and moved on to the next play, Frank really liked it. But Bryce, as he does, he moves on. He doesn't dwell on things. He just processes what's going to happen next, and he did that exactly on Saturday Saturday like he should have and like the Panthers expect him to be. So he acted like it was no big deal. It's just part of football. But he did show, as the Panther offensive lineman suggested after the game, that he can take a hit.
So, David, as we know, there's a number of teams out there. They're not starting their starters, right? They're investing more in the joint practices than they are in preseason games. But obviously, a different story for Carolina and the fact that they do have a rookie quarterback. So, with that being said, how much more Bryce Young can we anticipate to see in the 2 remaining preseason games?
Yeah, Frank Reich really didn't reveal how much he's going to play this week or next week. I think had he had a better showing this past week, that they probably would have made a decision already. But I think they're looking at playing him this week. One team official said they would expect him to play this week. Just how much will be determined, once they get in the flow. The first game, they had a plan for like 9 to 20 plays. He only got in there for 11. So they feel like that he'll probably get some snaps in this game. They need those snaps, needs those reps to get a feel for them. And right guard is really a key play because they did not have a starter back there because Austin Corbett's recovering from knee surgery. Everybody else is back on this line, and they got one of their rookies in there, Chandler Zavala, who'd been out on the PUP list during the first part of preseason. So he'll be in there. They'll get a feel for what he can do. So they want to get a full feel for what that offensive line can do, and they got to have Bryce Young behind them to understand exactly what he can do when they're protecting him.
Fantastic. Great stuff. David, thank you so much for joining us here on Bet. Really do appreciate your time. Let's bring back in Eric Moody, and let's talk about Bryce Young. Right? Hefty expectations, rookie, getting that start. We already know he's it. Not sure what's going to happen with the Colts and Anthony Richardson, right? But we know Bryce Young is it. Let's take a look at some of his over-unders, 22.5 passing touchdowns, over-under 33.45.5 passing yards. So with that being said, what side of the coin are you on one or both?
Yeah, the prop that's really catching my attention, Anita, is the passing yards prop. And I was really surprised by how the offensive line performed in that preseason game. I'm like, this is a talented unit, so I'm confident that they will turn things around. But one thing I do like about Bryce Young when I'm looking at the passing yards prop and leaning towards the over is that he's well positioned for success. He's got an offensive-minded head coach in Frank Reich. They've got talent on the offensive line, but I like the fact that they're surrounding him with veteran skill position players. DJ Shark is there, talented receiver. Adam Thielen's there. Hayden Hurst, one of the most underrated tight ends in the league, in my opinion. They also have Miles Sanders there as well. So, assuming the offensive line does get things turned around, I think that bodes well for Bryce Young. We all saw what he's capable of at the University of Alabama. I believe he averaged around like 302 passing yards per game in his collegiate career. So he can throw the football. But when you combine all those different factors, and you look at the division that they're in the NFC South and their schedule, it bodes very well for someone like Bryce Young to surpass his passing yards prop. So again, I am betting the over here.
So yet again, I know it's a trend, Eric, but negative Nelly Anita over here today. Sorry, but here's the thing. How often do I play the unders? You know me. I'm an over chick. I'm not an under chick. And now the third time I'm going under with these totals. Why? Listen, Carolina might boast the best roster in this division, but when it comes to the pass catchers, I'd rank them somewhere like 30th, 31st. I'm not seeing a lot of weapons and a lot of talent that Bryce Young is going to play with. And we just heard from David Newton talking about a subpar performance with the offensive line. And when you look at Frank Reich and the quarterbacks that he's had to coach, very few and far between rookies, right? His last rookie was Carson Wentz, who did well his rookie year with the Eagles, but after that, it kind of fell by the wayside. But Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers, Jacoby Brissett, Andrew Luck, it's been a minute since Frank has coached a rookie. He's 5'10", 204 pounds. They play the 10th toughest schedule the first 6 weeks of the season. And oh, by the way, 4 of those 6 games are on the road. So I just don't think it's going to be an easy start for Bryce Young, and I am going to go under on touchdowns and passing yards. I think it's going to be a minute for him to adjust to the NFL, especially at 5'10", and I think we're being very kind to say that he's 204 pounds. Eric, thank you so much. Always great having you on Bet, my friend.
Oh, yeah, it's always good to catch up. Until next time.
You got it. As always, we like to end the show with Before I Let You Go. And since we're talking preseason, let's look ahead to week 2. So a few things. As I said on Daily Wager just a few weeks ago, when I'm looking at wagering on preseason, I'm looking at teams that have good quarterback battles or good quarterback depth. Week 1, also joint practices, 8 teams. This week, how about this? 20 teams have joint practices. Coaches are valuing the joint practices more than they're valuing the preseason games. So I'm looking at A, teams that are hosting the joint practices, B, evaluating their quarterbacks or better quarterback depth, and C, need to play their quarterbacks, like David said, because it's a rookie quarterback. Of course, Carolina wants to give him that success. So therefore, what are the 2 games I'm looking at that I'm going to go to the window for in preseason? Number 1 is the Texans over the Dolphins. Why? Well, the Texans, they're going to be hosting the joint practice for the Dolphins. Also, I think the Dolphins are being uber careful with Tua because they're worried about his injury history. And the Texans, man, you look at all 3 of their quarterbacks. They've got CJ, who they drafted. They got Davis Mills and Case Keenum as their 3rd-string quarterback. So I'm looking at an elongated, better quarterback play throughout the game. Mills went 9 for 12, 99 yards and a touchdown. So I like the Texans preseason game number 2 over the Dolphins. And I also like the Saints over the Chargers. Why? The Chargers, they're hosting. However, Staley, the head coach, has come out and said that their starters are not playing. We are not going to see Justin Herbert play at all in the preseason. What does that mean? Kellen Moore, a new offensive coordinator. A learning curve there for a lot of these offensive players, and now they're not going to be playing in a preseason game with their starting quarterback. Just something does not add up there for me. Meanwhile, Derek Carr looked great in week 1. 6 for 8, 70 yards, tossed a touchdown. Michael Thomas played. Alvin Kamara is getting time to play because he's going to be suspended the first 3 weeks of the season. So I do like the Saints. I think the Saints are going to put their best foot forward in preseason week 2 over the Chargers. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to Bet. Really do appreciate it. Have a great night, everybody.